This is a landscape built on water. The intricate river networks of 12th century Bengal made King Lakshmana Sena's kingdom an economic powerhouse. Ships carrying heavy cargo flowed constantly through these arteries, connecting inland markets to the broader Indian Ocean trade. The true engine of this wealth was high-volume manufacturing. Bengal exported highly sought-after textiles, specifically fine muslin cloth woven on traditional wooden spinning apparatus. This concentrated export volume created a highly monetized economy, unlike many neighboring kingdoms that relied entirely on barter. Bengal's regional and international trade functioned on a stable silver currency called the tanka. This wealth made the Sena Empire a prime target. But the kingdom's military doctrine was built for the terrain they knew, relying heavily on slow-moving war elephants and river navigation. They were structurally unequipped for the radically different style of warfare developing to the west. Enter Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji. He was an ambitious Turkic commander born on the harsh, mountainous margins of the expanding Ghuriid Empire. Khalji commanded a relentless force of lightly armored steppe cavalry. This gave his army a massive kinetic advantage. Rather than engaging in pitched battles of attrition, his riders moved with terrifying speed, striking deep into enemy territory to neutralize rival nerve centers. He targeted institutions rather than armies, using his cavalry's speed to overrun massive, unfortified learning centers like Nalanda before a defense could even be organized. Now he turned his sights eastward. The geography leading into western Bengal consists of flat, open plains. This terrain offered absolutely no natural friction to slow his advancing riders, setting up a brutal technological mismatch. In 1204, Khalji launched a strike toward the western Sena capital of Nabadwip. His advance unit rode so hard that they completely outpaced their own main army. Arriving at the city gates with just a handful of men, Khalji and his advance guard posed as common horse traders. This disguise allowed them to walk directly past the outer city defenses unchallenged. Once inside the palace perimeter, they dropped the act. They breached the royal compound right in the middle of the day, specifically timing the assault while King Lakshmana Sena was having his midday meal. The suddenness of the attack triggered immediate, disorienting chaos. From this single event, a prominent historical myth was born, the exaggerated claim that the entire Sena Empire was conquered by a mere 18 horsemen. The western capital did fall that day, and the king was forced to flee. But the Sena state itself did not collapse. It simply absorbed the shock and shifted its political center of gravity. King Lakshmana Sena relocated his royal court eastward to the city of Bikrampur. He deliberately positioned his remaining administration behind the major river systems of the Bengal Delta. This topographical map shows exactly why the strategy worked. The sweeping cavalry charges that dominated the western plains hit a hard stop right here. The southeastern delta is an impassable labyrinth of waterways that stripped Khalji's horses of speed and mobility. Safe behind this barrier, the Sena power structure rebuilt. The state continued to collect revenue, issue land grants, and govern a massive eastern territory. The waterlogged terrain, rather than a decisive infantry battle, acted as an impregnable fortress. Frustrated by the delta, Khalji was forced to look elsewhere to expand his newly acquired kingdom. In 1206, Khalji pivoted north. He organized an ambitious 10,000-man expedition into the Himalayas, aiming to seize control of the lucrative trade routes that brought prized war horses down from Tibet. But look at this environment. His army, accustomed to the flat, humid plains of Bengal, suddenly found itself navigating steep, freezing river gorges and treacherous mountain passes. Traditional cavalry formations were utterly useless here. The local Kamarupa and Tibetan tribes used the landscape against the invaders. They launched relentless guerrilla attacks from the ridges, destroyed ancient stone bridges, and effectively severed Khalji's supply and escape routes. The retreat was a catastrophe. Cut off from supplies, the starving soldiers were eventually forced to eat their own horses just to survive the freezing conditions. Of the 10,000 men who marched into the mountains, barely 100 made it back to Bengal alive. The aggressive mobility that made Khalji unstoppable on the open plains became a trap in the mountains. This defeat broke his army, directly precipitating his own assassination and sending his remaining commanders into years of chaotic infighting. While the Muslim commanders in western Bengal spent the next decade paralyzing each other with assassinations and civil war, the Sena court in Bikrampur maintained its stability. We know this from hard epigraphic evidence. Physical artifacts, like deeply engraved copper plate land grants bearing the royal seal, prove that Lakshmana Sena and his sons continued to rule as sovereign kings for decades after the 1204 raid. Their survival in the east required constant, exhausting maintenance. The court actively managed land records, patronized Sanskrit scholarship, and built strategic alliances with the local boatmen who controlled the waterways. By continuing to issue these grants and manage legal records for over 40 years, the Bikrampur court ensured that the basic functions of Bengali society remained intact during the century's most unstable decades. Bengal did not fall in a single afternoon. It survived by leveraging its defensive geography and committing to the exhausting daily task of maintaining a state that simply refused to stop functioning.